Welcome aboard, everybody. My name is Dave Good. I teach people how to play the saxophone, either via Zoom or here in person in my home studio in La Mesa, California, part of San Diego. If you're in the area and you want to stop by, let me know. Reach out to me at davegoodsax@gmail.com or leave me a comment in the comments below. You can also set up a Zoom conference with me. We can do a little Zoom action. Anywhere in the world that's got good Wi-Fi, let's do that, okay? davegoodsax@gmail.com. So today I want to talk about the most important lesson I ever learned in playing the saxophone came from Bobby Keys. Bobby Keys, the late, great Bobby Keys, was the saxophone player in the Rolling Stones. And today we're going to reference a song called Brown Sugar. Now, being technically inept, of course, I don't know how to actually sub that song into this video so you can hear the sax solo I'm going to talk about. But Bobby Keys was so important to me as a young saxophone player. I would like you to go listen to that track, Brown Sugar, and it's the saxophone solo comes in halfway through the song. And you may not be impressed that it's a huge, big, wonderfully technical, lots of notes, flashy sax solo, but it does something that's really very important, and I'll explain that to you. But first of all, Bobby Keys came along at a time that was so important to me as a young saxophone player, right? I was not a jazzer. I had no jazz head, no experience, and the jazz, can you hear the dogs? They're out there, they're guarding the fortress, right? Hey, we're back in the garage again, too. Yeah, I just noticed. Anyway, jazz wasn't for me as a young sax player. I learned how to play sax in the school band in 4th grade. In the 5th grade, we started, 5th or 6th grade, we started a rock and roll band outside of school. And that's what was so cool. We were playing our instruments, learning songs by ear, and performing at the school assembly. We did surf rock back then. And this would have been maybe 1963, something like that, 64. So by 1965, of course, all that got wiped out because the Beatles showed up, all right? And after that, everybody had a garage band, and electric guitars became, the saxophone was the electric guitar in the 40s, I think in the 50s, so to speak. Saxophone just dropped off the face of the earth, right? And guitars, electric guitars. I mean, Sears started selling electric guitars. Radio Shack sold. Everybody was selling electric guitars. Up and down the streets on El Cajon Boulevard here in my humble part of town, La Mesa, guitar stores, Guitar Center, trying to think of the Freedom Guitar, Apex Guitar, all up and down the street, guitar stores, and oh man, guitars were just so cool. I couldn't play one. I'm terrible at playing guitar. Okay at playing saxophone, but not so good at playing guitar. I had an alto saxophone. This is a Conn from 1946, a 6M. The saxophone I had as a starter sax was one of those old Shooting Star Conn alto saxes. That's a whole different story. So anyway, saxophone falls off. I'm no longer part of a band, and I'm doing school band stuff. And as you know, thank God for school band, right? Because we get to play and we get to do music, but it's not my music, wasn't your music. We were doing school band music, right? And all the fun stuff was happening with, guys who could play guitar. They were starting bands up, and they were having band practices, and they were doing covers. And it was, it was a time when I really wanted to participate, but I couldn't. So down the road, I'm in high school now, and there's a jazz band, and I get into the jazz band. Like I said to you before, this is all new to me. I'm not a jazz head. Got no idea what all those chord symbols mean. It's a challenge just to read the charts, and I feel like a fish out of water. I don't belong in jazz band, but it's the only thing. It's the big moving part, right? And it was more fun than marching band and more fun than concert band. And I have to say, at least I dug it. Now, I'm not dissing jazz at all. There's a lot of good things that will help elevate you and your playing, in the other forms that you might like a little bit better, like blues and rock, rhythm and blues, gospel, soul, funk, that sort of thing. Just because you can't play jazz doesn't mean that you can't play the saxophone. This does not have anything on it, stamped on it that says for jazz heads only. No, it does not. You play all kinds of wonderful music on a saxophone. And that's, you know, what I was really feeling like was gone from my life. I wasn't really able to do that. So the Stones, and they didn't have a sax player at first, but later in the game, they got Bobby Keys and a trumpet player whose name I don't remember. Price was his last name, maybe? Something like that. I don't know. Sorry about that for you trumpet fans. But anyway, Bobby Keys, the sax player. Bobby Keys is by no means a virtuoso sax player. By no means whatsoever. He's just got a big, strong voice, kind of like Clarence Clemens later in the Bruce Springsteen, the E Street Band. Big, strong voice, kind of lusty. The tone is on the edge of clean and breaking up a little bit. You know, it's got just that wonderful, sexy sound. And you know, his sound, his solos are just kind of larger than life, the way they should be in rock and roll. And the first thing that happened for me was validation, right? Yeah, you can still, you're back, Dave. You can be a sax player and be in, you know, rock bands and make those sounds and just get back into making music with your friends the way that you've always wanted to make music, right? I mean, I just felt like, you know, you don't have to, you know, be able to play giant steps. You know, you can entertain a lot of people and have a good time with your friends playing, you know, very simple kinds of things that are effective, right? Right note, right place, right time, that sort of thing. That was Bobby Keys. But the best lesson, the most important thing that I got from Bobby Keys, part two of this, not just validation that, you know, you don't have to be a jazz head to play sax. You can play, you can still play sax and enjoy it and play some great music. But the part two of this is that Bobby Keys taught me about the pocket, right? Never, ever, ever get ahead of the snare drum. When you're playing, you know, we're one note instruments, right? And we play lines. Our solos must never, ever, ever get ahead of the snare drum, right? Repeat that. Go write that down somewhere on your dry erase board. Solo must never, you as a player must never, ever get ahead of the snare, okay? This is about playing in the pocket. What is the pocket? Kind of the marriage between the bass and the drums, right? If they're both playing together, they're playing as one, in unison, basically. I don't know what to call that sound, but I know when it happens. And I know that we will fit right into that pocket as musicians, right? It informs us, it supports us. I played a gig Saturday night with a band that had no pocket whatsoever, and it's a real challenge to play in a band where there's not a lot of listening and there's absolutely no pocket, no connection between the bass and drums. I know those of you who have been out there and you've done that too, right? You've played in bands and what the heck is wrong here? Bass and drums aren't communicating, no pocket, right? The Rolling Stones, in my opinion, are just one giant pocket. I mean, the two guitar players now, you know, if you couldn't see them, you would think it was just one guitar player. You cannot tell where one starts and where the other one ends, right? And the band is just an amazing pocket. Now, back then, the late Charlie Watts was the drummer in the band, and Charlie, his drumming was, I mean, just a microsecond behind the beat. I mean, to my ear, he always sounded as if, I'm going to sneeze. Stifle a sneeze. Cold, it's allergy time here in SoCal. I know, and it's sort of like fall weather too. Weird, huh? Okay. Anyway, back to Charlie Watts, playing just like microseconds behind the beat, such that I always felt a little giddy, like this guy's gonna train wreck. No, he never did. That was where he played. Well, Bobby Keys, the sax player, played right in that pocket. He played, in fact, a micro second behind Charlie Watts on the, you know, so listen to this song, listen to the beat. They've got the sax mix down low in the mix on Brown Sugar, but I want you to hear that. I want you to hear what he does. Right? But he's right behind Charlie, who was just right behind where a metronome beat would be, right? And he's guiding the band. The rest of the band is that pocket. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. That's what I learned. The most important lesson I learned about playing. Never get out in front of the snare and stay in the pocket as a soloist, okay? Now, how can you practice that? Well, you know, you don't have the Rolling Stones to practice with. Who does? And you may not even have a band to practice with. You can do this with an ordinary metronome. I was going to use the kick drum on the, you know, but Jack took his pedal home. This is Jack Pinney's drum set, and there's no pedal there. So I was going to, boom, you know, do the added sonic effect for you. I don't have that. So set your metronome to like, I don't care what you set it to, but I want you to play on every other beat. All right, play on every other beat. So note, note, beat, note, beat, note, beat. And I want you to listen to this bass. All right, and in time, I want you to start experimenting with getting just ahead of the beat a little bit, not much, and getting just behind the beat a little bit, all right? You can do that on your own time and figure it out. It's a great exercise, and if you'd love to record yourself and send me some tape, or make a little private video on YouTube, make your own channel, and send me the link. I'd love to hear you do that. But again, why are you? This is about learning how to play in the pocket. All right, and let yourself get just in front and then just behind, okay? Always record yourself. Always record yourself. Okay, so that's all I got. If you have any questions or comments for future videos, questions you'd like to ask me to have answered, please leave me a comment in the comment section below. I'm so grateful for all of you, grateful that you're all here. Thank you so much for being part of this. Dogs are coming back, so I better ring off, and I'll go upload this now. But any questions, davegoodsax@gmail.com, davegoodsax@gmail.com. Hit me up for a lesson if you want to deep dive into this a little bit more. I'm glad to work on rhythm with you anytime. Bobby Keys, thank you so much. RIP, what a wonderful, wonderful run. And again, it established credibility for me that it was okay to play saxophone again. It was okay to come out of hiding. And I didn't have to, you know, go through all that jazz stuff that I could not figure it out. I had no clue. I could play a rock and roll solo till the cows came home. And I'm from Texas, so we know about cows. But the thing about it is the jazz thing, I had no clue. What is a mixolydian chord? What is a Lydian dominant? What is all that stuff? And the band teacher didn't know either. So when I would ask questions, he would say, just play. That was his advice to me, just play. Well, I could play a rock solo, but I couldn't play a jazz solo. And it was painfully obvious. And I know I'm not alone. I know there are many of you out there who feel the same way. You might not be a jazz head, but you can play the heck out of a saxophone and enjoy it. So that's all it comes down to, just you and me. I'm glad that we're here today. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you again next time.